Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. We have special guest with us, a fighting, brass-knuckled progressive. It's Jim Keady. He's an activist, an educator, and he's even an athlete running for Congress in New Jersey's 4th District. You remember him from being on the show. He's the guy who stood up to Nike and exposed their exploitation. He walks the walk. It's Jim Keady. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on again.
New Jersey's 4th District. You stood up to Chris Christie. We've covered all that. You stood up to him publicly. You called him out. You're well loved in your district. In fact, you help people rebuild after the hurricane. And now you're running for Congress, and you're not taking corporate money. You're a real progressive. But you've got an interesting story to talk about in potential of the establishment rigging the primary against you, a progressive. So can you tell us that story?
So here in the 4th District, we have a hotly contested primary. I am running against a guy who is a self-proclaimed centrist. I would argue that he is center-right, Republican-light. He checks a lot of boxes for people, at least on paper, down at the DCCC. He hasn't lived in our district since he was 18. He went to the Naval Academy, served active duty for 12 years, and I appreciate his service. But that doesn't mean that he is necessarily good for our district, that he's a good candidate, and that he's going to push policies that fit within our bold progressive democratic ideals. And yet he has gotten the support of the establishment in New Jersey. It's really unique how that support comes about. We are the only state in the union that does this thing called the county line vote. Like when you go into the ballot box in a Democratic primary in California, there's going to be a box that says United States House of Representatives, and it's going to list the candidates in no particular order, and it says choose one. In New Jersey, there is a column. There are a number of columns. And the first column is that county line. And it has, in this race, Senator Menendez will be top of the ticket. And then all the people the people in the county committee who they vote for to get that endorsement. So in the 4th District, of the 132,000 Democrats, 300 have decided who's going to be on those county lines in Monmouth County, Ocean County, and Mercer County. I'm going to give you an example of how bad it is with one county. All of them, there were issues. But in Ocean County, we have 8 towns in our district in Ocean County. In those 8 towns, there's probably about 200 delegates that could have voted in the county line vote. 50 people voted. Of the 50 people that voted, 56 votes were cast. Of the 56 votes that were cast, 27 of those votes were cast by people who do not even live in the 4th District. Because of the way they have their bylaws set up, they could have the chairman, who doesn't live in our district. Not only did he get to vote, he got 2 votes because he's a superdelegate. There's another guy, John, who's a longtime operative in Ocean County, doesn't live in our district. He got 3 votes. You had the mayor and town council in Bricktown who are not in the 4th District, rather, they're in the 3rd. All of them got to vote. Now, even with this setup that they had, where they thought they had it in the tank for this guy that I'm running against, I give my speech at the convention. I get a standing ovation from the entire delegation. Now they're freaking out that maybe their fix is not in enough. So they call for votes from the floor. People go and vote. They call last call votes from the floor. Stragglers went to vote. And then we're sitting around for like 45 minutes. And I am going, what the hell's going on here? It doesn't take this long to count, this many votes. There aren't that many people at the convention. And my political spidey sense goes up. And I look over to my left in the cafeteria, and there's the chairman and the chair of the screening committee and a longtime party operative. And I start walking towards them, and I'm about 15 feet away from them, and I'm looking at the chair, and this other guy has his back to me. He's on his phone, and I hear the chairman say to him, "Get off your phone. He's coming up behind you." And I was like, I cannot believe this is happening right now. They're calling delegates who aren't here.
Yeah, they cheat right out in the open now, Jim. They don't have any trouble doing it. So go ahead.
So I play dumb, and I just walk up to it. I'm like, guys, what's going on? Why is it taking so long? They're like, well, people may need to sign petitions. We're just waiting a little bit. Okay. And I stepped back and just leaned against the wall and waited. And sure enough, the chairman gets a phone call, and now he's scurrying out of the cafeteria, and I follow like a private investigator about 20 feet behind him. and he's on his phone going, no, come to this door, waving a woman in who just arrived after the vote was called. He's sneaking this woman in the back door of the cafeteria, and I caught him dead to rights, and I was like, Wyatt, are you effing kidding me? You don't have it in the tank enough for your guy. You're calling delegates off site and trying to sneak them in the back door after the votes happened. That's what went down in Ocean County. And I could tell you stories of what went down in Monmouth and what went down in Mercer. Generally speaking, we should not have these county line votes. We shouldn't have these kinds of party endorsements prior to the primary. The people of the 4th District who are Democrats and unaffiliated voters can vote in our primary. There are 132,000 Dems. There are 232,000 unaffiliated voters, 47% of the district. They should be able to determine who our nominee will be to go up against a 38-year incumbent GOP guy come November. Now, we can do that. And we have continued to run our bold progressive campaign even after stuff like this has happened. And people do have that choice on June 5th. But we're up against that county line. It's really powerful in New Jersey. So we've had to do a lot of voter education. Jim Keady stands alone in column 3, and to really educate people about where I'm going to be on the ballot. One of the things that's really exciting, we had a situation in Monmouth, and I could walk you through the details of that one as well, but I'll spare you. Needless to say, we lost the Monmouth vote, but even with the machine up against us, I won 40% of the delegates. I won the support of the LGBTQ caucus, the Women's Caucus, and the Progressive Caucus, right? So we had a base of support there, but that was the lead county. I thought after we lost the county line in Monmouth that it may have been over. My supporters may have gotten deflated. Within the 24 hours after that vote went down, we had 120 volunteers sign up. We had $6,000 in small dollar contributions come through in a 24-hour period, and people have been off the charts with their grassroots activism ever since that went down. Because you had a lot of new people that got drawn into the process after Trump got elected, and they still trusted the system.
Ha ha ha!
And this, I think, for many of them, this was a real shock on how this stuff works. And I'm excited that they are also of the belief that I am, that while we want to win our race in 2018, this isn't about just capturing a moment to push back against Trump, which we need to do. This is about building a movement and transforming this party from the bottom up so that we have everyday people that are making the decisions and not a handful of political elites, some of whom, unfortunately, are just in it for the jobs that get handed out and for whatever else they're getting out of it. The people that are involved in our campaign, me personally, I don't need a job. None of the guys that I grew up with and went to high school with need a job. None of my family members need jobs. I am in this to serve the people of our district and the people of the United States. And I would say to a person, every man, every woman that is volunteering on the Keady for Congress campaign, they have the same feeling and belief. Nobody wants anything out of this other than bold, progressive, democratic leadership for our district, and that kind of voice on the floor of the House of Representatives fighting for everyday people.
So you've seen it up close firsthand. Now, we've reported the DCCC is putting their thumb on the scale all over the country for corporatist Democrats. And, of course, The Intercept had that from Colorado where Denny Stoyer was caught on a open microphone, or he was recorded saying, yes, decisions have been made way before the primary about who the party's going to endorse. Decisions have been made. And so that resources go towards the corporate Democrat who no one wants, right? Who the people don't really want. And so you're seeing this happen up close right now where they have these unfair rules in place, which to me is rigging of a primary. And my question to you, Jim, is being such an outspoken progressive guy who's gotten results, who's built your community back up, why do you want to work inside of a party that's bent on working against you? Why don't you work outside the two-party system?
Well, if there were people, let's say there was someone who was running for the Green Party or Progressive Party, like something that was outside of the two-party system, I think you could have viable candidates at lower level races. So if you had somebody from the Green Party that was running, for a town council race or a city council race at the local level, it's doable because you can do it with shoe leather. You can just knock on enough doors and build enough momentum to win a school board race, a town council race. Anything beyond that, a county-wide race, a congressional district. I mean, with a congressional district, you're talking about in New Jersey, 750,000 residents, 500,000 potential voters. You need that infrastructure in place. And I don't think that we've built up, there are any third parties that have built up enough where people would believe that, oh, that candidate is viable, unless you already had name recognition coming in. Like in New Jersey, if Bruce Springsteen decided to run for Congress as an independent, he would win. In the same way that Jesse Ventura won in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. In the same way that, Bernie was able to win, but he did it going up the ladder as an independent. But when he got to that presidential, that decision to run in the presidential race, he also realized that the infrastructure is not in place to run a viable third-party candidate. So if that's something that people are committed to, it needs to be built from the bottom up. And I encourage my friends of mine who are engaged with third-party politics, if that's what you really want to do, don't shoot for Congress. Shoot for school board and get a slate of candidates. And then build it up, as I said, from the bottom up. And I do still have some hope for the Democratic Party. Look, I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders. 45% of the people in that arena in Philadelphia were standing with us. We were 5% short of having, half of the people in the Democratic Party who were in those positions as delegates, standing with us with a bold progressive agenda. And we are transforming it. Look at HR 676, the Expanded and Improved Medicare for All Act. People like Bernie have been on it for, 20 years talking about this. And now you have every major political contender who thinks they may run for 2020 is now signing on to that legislation. Okay, so we can transform this from the bottom up. And it's happening in terms of policy. It's happening in terms of candidates. And rather than us reinventing the wheel on the infrastructure component, we need to reinvigorate our party, remind Democrats that we're the party of FDR, that we are the party that is for the everyday person, that we're the ones who should be fighting for labor rights, for fair wages, for LGBTQ rights, for racial justice, economic justice, for getting the big money out of politics. I'm not conceding that territory to some corporate Democrat. I'm not conceding it to the guy that's in this race, saying, it's okay for you to take money from lobbyists. It's okay for you to take money from defense contractors. It's okay for you to take money from billionaire hedge fund managers, right? It's wrong. Stop calling yourself a Democrat. You may be okay on some identity politic issues, but you're center-right, Republican-like. And we deserve better as Democrats. I won't concede it. I'm not willing to completely give it up at this point. We need people that are willing to fight and take back this party for everyday people who are struggling in working families and in Main Street businesses. And we can do it. I'm convinced of that.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. We support here at the show progressives no matter where they are, inside the party, outside the party, even inside a Republican Party. If you're a progressive and you don't take corporate money, we're for you. We think we need progressives everywhere. So have you been endorsed by Our Revolution?
Yes, I was endorsed by Our Revolution New Jersey. I was endorsed by, I think, 4 or 5 county organizations, and I have the national Our Revolution endorsement.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, so you're endorsed by Our Revolution, local and nationally. Yep. People, if you want to learn more, Jim, what would be your big issues if you got elected? When you get elected, what would be your big issues to try to work on in Congress?
Yeah, I would say day one, I am signing on to HR 676, the Expanded and Improved Medicare for All Act. Healthcare is a human right. It is an embarrassment that we don't have a national single-payer healthcare system here in the United States. At some point, every American is going to need healthcare. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, unaffiliated, green, if you're rich, poor, black, white, brown. If you get cancer, cancer doesn't care, right? And every American is going to need the same level of treatment. And HR 676 is the bill that can get us there. So healthcare is one that I'm going to fight for. Second is getting the big money out of politics. I firmly believe that we need a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. For those of us who study politics, we know that this is a very heavy lift. So while we're working towards that, we certainly can put in policies where we're publicly funding elections from the school board all the way up to the Oval Office, that we shorten the time that people can campaign for office to like 5 months. So that, I mean, I've been at this for 15 months. I would much rather it be a 5-month window of campaigning to spare the American people the constant campaign. And we cap the amount of money that can be spent in races. And if we do those things along with de-gerrymandering our districts, now we have real competitive districts year in and year out. Every cycle, anyone can jump into that race. And if they do the work in gaining the support of the people of their district, they'll have an even playing field on which to fight. And one of the other big issues for me is dealing with climate change. You know, I was at ground zero of Hurricane Sandy in my hometown of Belmar. I saw the devastation that these intense storms can create. Also, you know, going after Hurricane Sandy, just in this past year, we saw the storms in Texas. We saw the storm in Florida. I was down in Puerto Rico in October and December helping people recover from Hurricane Maria. These storms are getting more frequent. They're getting more intense. So along with pushing back against the dirty energy companies that we have all had a hand in using their products over the course of our lifetime, so we got to own that. We got to push back against them, get their big money out of our political system, mitigate against the damage that we have all done, and make investments, massive investments in solar and wind and tidal and geothermal. And in doing that, create a green industrial revolution that not only is going to transition us to a green energy grid, but will create millions and millions of good paying jobs for everyday people around New Jersey's 4th District, around the entire state of New Jersey, and around our entire country. And one other one that I'd throw out there, our current congressperson is one of the most anti-women congressmen on the Hill with regard specifically to women's reproductive rights. Not only does he want to overturn Roe v. Wade, he wants to defund and close all the Planned Parenthoods. And he's on the record saying that women should not have access to the birth control pill or the IUD. Right? And this is a guy who has very far right Catholic beliefs. And as someone who went to Catholic school for 18 years, and I hold a graduate degree with distinction in theology from St. John's University, and I've taught religion at 2 different Catholic high schools in our district, I think I can say with a marginal bit of authority that his Catholic beliefs are off the reservation. They weren't fit for 1818, let alone 2018. So, you know, I'm sure that we could go through, and Jim, you and I have, issue after issue, right? What I say to people is, if it's bold, progressive, grounded in our democratic ideals, I don't need to be convinced of it. We just need to come up with the best policies to bring about the change that is going to help people have better lives around the 4th District, around New Jersey, and around the United States. And that is what I've been committed to for the last 20 years of my life as a local elected official, as a grassroots organizer and activist. And it's those personal, professional, political experiences that I want to bring to bear on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Well,
it's a fascinating story about your dealings with the establishment Democrats and just trying to get a position on the ballot. To me, it seems like rigging. I can't believe what you guys have to go through. Jim Keady's running for Congress in the 4th District of New Jersey. If you know his backstory, we've already covered it. There's a video on this channel. We'll put a link to it underneath. Tells you all about the great work he did fighting back and standing up for what was right and for the least amongst us. That's what Jim Keady is, and that's what he's all about. So, I'm going to make a donation to your campaign, so I think I'm supposed to tell people that, right? Okay. So Jim Keady, New Jersey's 4th District. Thanks so much for being on. And we'll put a link. What's your website? JimKeadyForCongress.com.
There are a few things that we need people who are watching us to do. One of the things that we need people to do is to go to the website, JimKeady.com, JIMKEAD as in Democrat, Y.com. They can donate. They can volunteer. We do need small dollar contributions for this last 2.5 weeks for the GOTV efforts. I know that in the past, when I've been on your show, people, when they're talking in the comments, they're like, well, is he endorsed by Our Revolution? Yes, we have the national Our Revolution endorsement. If that is important to you and it's a stamp of approval, please donate your $27 to the campaign. And we need every dollar we can get because we're not taking corporate PAC money. I'm not taking lobbyist money. I'm not taking money from, billionaires and hedge fund managers, any of it. The majority of our contributions have come from people in the 4th District, from around the state of New Jersey, and they've been under $200, the majority of our contributions. So please help us continue with that kind of grassroots effort. We also need people to volunteer. If you want to make phone calls, we can set you up with a dialer where you can be making calls from anywhere in the United States. If you want to come knock on doors in the next 2.5 weeks, we'll find supportive housing for you. You can crash on the floor of my apartment. We need as many foot soldiers on the ground. So anybody who's watching this from New Jersey who wants to come down to Monmouth County, Ocean County, Mercer County, and get out knocking on doors, we need you. Anyone around the country can make phone calls. We also have people, this is a novel idea, but man, the traction it's getting. We have people doing letter writing parties every night of the week, sending out thousands and thousands of handwritten letters to voters. It's gotten to the point where people are starting to write us back and saying, thank you. I've never had somebody reach out to me like this before. And then when we're doing the follow-up, we're knocking on doors, like, I got your letter. He's got my vote. Right? Wow. So people can write letters for us from anywhere. I will serve the people of the 4th District, but I'm sure your viewers who are very politically astute know that I will not just be pushing for policies for the people of my district. We're voting on national policy that will impact people's lives all over the United States. So if you want an unapologetic, bold progressive who's going to fight for everything we care about, please get involved with Keady for Congress. Again, it's JimKeady.com. JimKead as in Democrat, Y.com.
All right, Jim Keady, 4th District. Thanks for being our guest, and best of luck, buddy.
Thanks, Jim. Great talking to you.
Our next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon, and July 15th in Chicago, Illinois. We're doing a live show July 15th in Chicago, Illinois. Go to a link right there for all the tickets to all the live Jimmy Dore shows. Plus, if you can help become a premium member, we give you hours of bonus material every week. Become a patron or a premium member. And if you're on Steam It, we're steaming it right now. Plus, every Saturday, we do a live Super Solid Chat Saturday where it's a live stream and you can ask us questions and we'll answer them back. Every Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks for your support.